So if you want to get selfish about anything, so if you want to get selfish about anything, so if you want to get selfish about anything.
And we know the process of two becoming one can be difficult. It can be smooth at times. It could be rocky. 20 years, I would hope that you have oneness in most areas, because there's always something you can work on.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about marriage and we're talking about happiness, I want to also talk about the mixed messages and the misconceptions about life, love, and marriage. You were speaking to a couple. They're sitting in front of you about to get married, and they are modern young kids looking at what's in the media, looking at what's the messages are being told. What is your messaging to them?
What's my message to them?
Mm-hmm. Based on what they're seeing and then what reality is.
Why they get married?
Mm.
What are your reasons of being married? Because some people get married because they want to be married, because someone's telling them they need to be married. What lifestyle do you want to live within the marriage?
Wow.
Because you got some people who get married and they still act like they're single, because when you get married, your friends have to pretty much change.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So that's what I would ask and what I would say to them.
Very, very good.
What I would tell them is this: just like what Tap was saying, why do you want to get married? But also, what's your angle? What's your angle? Because getting married involves a lot, and I didn't know this when I got married. I didn't even realize this when I got married. When you get married, it means that you are going to give up something to get something. Right? You got to give up your selfishness to gain togetherness. Because when you get married, you want to be together. You want to be on the same note.
That's right.
But but a lot of times people say, well, the first 2 years of our marriage was the worst time of our lives, because you cannot be selfish anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the burning away of selfishness. And so I would tell people, my advice to them is, before you get married, you need to start looking at how selfish you are.
Ooh. And
you need to start burning that away right now.
That's
so that
good.
You can have a good 2 years versus the VCR being broke, or holes in televisions.
Don't do that.
And walls and everything else. So.
Don't do the VCR.
Where is it? Don't do that. No, I'm just kidding. We had fun our first year. It was fun. Yeah. Like, it was hilarious. We have some stories and then we figured it out, but it was hilarious our first year, because we were just, like you said, just trying to figure out two becoming one, and joining in the church's idea of what marriage is, what your family says marriage is, what you thought marriage was, what media says marriage is, what the army says marriage was, what his family, and then you're just like, oh, but I'm married. I got to figure this. We have to make our own marriage and what our idea of marriage is. And so, and then, wow, you got a kid in the middle of all of that. So yeah, it was fun.
Two things. I would say, okay, God obviously has a sense of humor. He's taking you with all your mess, and her with all her mess, and putting y'all together to make one bigger mess, and then see how all this pans out. So just understand that each one of y'all is coming with some baggage, whether you want to admit it or not.
It's true.
Different family backgrounds, different family dynamics, different just traditions and ways of doing things. Find the middle road, the common road, and walk down that road. Because otherwise, like Vernell said, you're gonna be trying to do things your way, she's gonna be trying to do things her way, and then it ain't gonna go. It's not gonna go no way if you don't have that common middle ground.
I want to add something practical to that. Not that you weren't practical.
That's what you were saying.
But no. This is
flag on play sideways shape.
When I say practical, I just want to give a concrete example. That's what I'm trying to say. I want to give a concrete example, because those types of words we always hear. But I would definitely say to people that are thinking about getting married, looking at getting married, talk to each other about finances. Like, hey, do you know how to pay bills on time? Who pays your bills currently? How do you pay them? How do you
She all in my
manage?
next live.
Say that again, please.
I'm laughing. I said you all in my next the topic of the next live. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know,
No, but you're right.
what do you eat? What do you like to eat? Who cooks it? How do you like it cooked? Do you cook for you? Who buys this food? Because a lot of people that like to eat, they don't even know what the food costs. You know, they don't even realize that there's a plan. Like just because you like steak, you can't buy steak for this weekend next week. You could buy a fresh one for next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just basic stuff like that. That some people like to put their stuff in the freezer. We found out that Corey, now I had a big family. We had a deep freezer in the garage too. In fact, there was always frozen meat in there. I go to Corey's house, it looks like they're on a diet or starving or poor because they got like 2 packs of meat. Come to find out, why? There's only 3 of them: a mother, a father, a child. They go to the grocery store once or twice a week.
Right.
And so those perceptions of what you'll have about each other, you know, when you start to have those conversations, it will really get you understanding the other person. So that way you can find that middle ground of, oh, I don't have to have this or do things that way. So that's what I mean by I wanted to bring a practical, concrete example, not necessarily practical, but just a concrete example.
That was very good.
Think about.
That was a really good example. And I think, you know, the conversation all throughout, we're pretty much saying that, you know, if you're considering marriage, if you are married, you already know that a large part of that is communication. But really what we're saying is you really got to get out of yourself to get to know the other person if you really want this thing to work.
Well, yeah, you got to get out of yourself. You got to. So the selfishness doesn't allow you to grow. It just perpetuates the notion that the world revolves around you, and it really doesn't as an individual, right? But you're married, so you're coupled with someone, so the world has to revolve around you two, right? And it's about finding that balance of there are some things that I like, but I also got to get to know the things that you like. And be prepared to invest in those things, whether it be time, talent, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Nice.
I would challenge someone who's thinking about getting married to be selfish when it comes to their mess. Corey mentioned that God taking this messy person or these 2 messy people and putting them together. Even in relationships, we like to focus on the other person's mess, as if we don't have a mess of our own, as if we don't have our own baggage, our own issues. We're good at focusing on what the other person should be doing and how they should be acting. So I would challenge someone that's thinking about getting married to get selfish, not about what it is they want, and get selfish about the mess that you are. Focus on that. And I say in everything, it goes back to self. And because the way we see other people is a reflection of how we see ourselves.
Nice.
It's a reflection of our own experience, our own baggage, our own upbringing, our own traumas. So if you deal with that, it'll help you see the person that you're with in a totally different light. So if you want to get selfish about anything, get selfish about your mess.